The anomaly flag came in at 0614 local moon time, which was my watch. I was running a mineral density corridor survey in the Gravitic-Null upland system. Standard deep field work. 4 hours watching gravitic resonance returns paint slow pictures of subsurface iron deposits. The pale margin was 41 minutes from the nearest charted installation, a 3-building environmental monitoring outpost operated by a Kethavar Wildlife Survey Bureau. I had its coordinates in my nav chart because regulations required it. I had never had cause to contact it. The flag came through on Band Orvith Survey 3, which was listed in my monitoring suite under an 88-year-old Terran Kethavar Joint Survey Charter, Section 11, Passive Anomaly Watch. I kept the band active because it was in my standing orders, and I had never had cause to question standing orders. The flag was a Class Null designation, gravitic baseline deviation, persistent, mobile, origin point logged as the outpost's own environmental array. I looked at it for a moment. A Class Null gravitic baseline deviation means the array recorded a zone of near-zero gravitic return across a roughly 200-meter radius. Not a deposit, not a geological feature, not interference. A moving zero, something occupying space and generating no gravitic signature at all, which is not a thing that occurs in nature by accident. My imaging suite was built for geological work, which meant it was built to resolve exactly this kind of return. I diverted. Standing orders covered this too, though I had never invoked it. Section 14, anomaly flag on an active monitoring band, plausible threat signature, nearest registered installation, divert and investigate, file on return. I opened a channel to the outpost on the standard Kethavar frequency, which was not the band the flag came in on. There was a pause of about 4 seconds before someone answered. The voice was controlled, the kind of controlled that is not calm but is doing the work of calm. This is Survey Team Leader Kalen, Outpost Gravitic-Null 7, identify. I identified myself. I told her I had received an anomaly flag from her array on Band Orvith Survey 3, and that I was 41 minutes out, and diverting to investigate. There was another pause. We did not file a flag on that band, she said. Your array did, I said, autonomously. It's in the broadcast header. Class Null Mobile Baseline Deviation, 0602 local. Do you have a moving anomaly in your perimeter sensor field? A longer pause this time. I heard something in the background, not voices, not equipment, something that sounded like the outpost's own sensor suite cycling through a diagnostic. Yes, she said. We have had it for 6 hours. We filed a distress report to Kethavar Sector Wildlife Authority 40 minutes ago. They are 8 hours out. We have 3 personnel inside the station. We have not been able to identify the source. Our optical and thermal sensors cannot resolve it. We have 1 injured. I told her I had gravitic resonance imaging aboard and that I could resolve it. I told her I would be on the ground in 38 minutes. She said, we did not aim that flag at you. I know, I said. Your array did. Hold position and keep the channel open. I told my crew, 2 of them, Corin and Ashta, what we had. Corin had worked geological survey for 11 years and had seen a Class Null mobile return exactly once before, in a deep cave system on a moon in the Palani corridor. And that time it had been a mislabeled equipment pallet caught in a low-grav pocket. She said this did not look like a mislabeled equipment pallet. I agreed. The pale margin set down in the outpost's cleared pad at 0652. The overcast was low, the light flat and cool, the tree canopy thick enough that I could not see more than 40 meters into the forest in any direction. The outpost was 3 prefabricated buildings connected by short covered walkways. The windows were shuttered. The door to the main station opened before I reached it. Sevet Orath Kalen was a tall alien, former military bearing still visible in the set of her shoulders even in civilian survey kit. One hand resting near, but not on a sidearm she had not drawn. She looked at me the way people look at unexpected help, like she was still doing the arithmetic on whether to trust it. Your array, I said, holding up my imaging relay. Broadcast on a charter band your bureau has been party to for 88 years. I don't think your current staff knew it was active. No, she said. We did not. Her team was inside. One of them, a young male named Orath, had a pressure bandage on his forearm and was sitting against the far wall with the stillness of someone who had decided not to move until told otherwise. The third, an older female named Verath, was at the sensor console, watching the outpost's perimeter display with the flat attention of someone who had been watching it for 6 hours and had stopped expecting it to tell her anything useful. She was right. The optical and thermal returns showed nothing. The perimeter was, by every sensor the outpost carried, empty forest. I connected the pale margin's imaging relay to the outpost's external antenna array. The gravitic resonance display came up on the console beside Varath's perimeter screen, and for a moment the three of them simply looked at it. The forest was not empty. The return showed a zone of near-zero gravitic signature, roughly 180 meters in diameter, moving in a slow elliptical circuit around the outpost's northern perimeter. It moved with the deliberate patience of something that had learned the geometry of the space it was working. The baseline around it was normal forest, root mass, soil density, the faint return of small fauna moving in the canopy. The zone itself was not. Whatever was inside it registered as almost nothing, not dead air, not absence, something that actively suppressed its own gravitic return. Kaylin stood at the console for a long moment without speaking. "How large is it?" she said. Not a question. A calculation being verified. "Estimated 8 to 12 meters at maximum cross-section," I said, moving at roughly 4 kilometers per hour. Consistent with a large predator working a circuit. Orath, from his position against the wall, said something quiet in Kethavar that I did not catch. Varath translated without being asked. "He says it came in through the north access path. He did not see it. He heard the canopy move and then his arm was broken." I asked Kaylin if she had any acoustic deterrent equipment. She did. Standard wildlife survey loadout, broad-spectrum low-frequency emitters, the kind used to move large fauna out of sensitive research areas without injury. I told her what I needed. She moved to the equipment locker without discussion, the way people with military backgrounds move when they have been given a workable plan. Efficiently, without ceremony. I ran the imaging relay and walked her through it. The emitters went up at the northern perimeter, angled inward, covering the arc of the circuit. We ran them for 11 minutes. On the gravitic display, the null zone paused, changed direction twice, and then moved steadily northwest, away from the outpost, into the deeper forest, until the return faded to background. We watched it go. Kaylin stood at the console for another 4 minutes after the return dropped off the display, making sure. Then she turned to look at the imaging relay and at me, and she did the thing people do when the arithmetic of a situation does not add up the way they expected. "Your charter band," she said. 88 years. "Yes. Our array filed that flag on its own, on a band none of us knew was active." "Yes. And you were 41 minutes out. 41 minutes when the flag came in. 38 by the time I diverted." She looked at the imaging display, which now showed ordinary forest, root mass, soil density, the small drift of canopy fauna resuming their normal movement. She looked at Orath, who had his eyes closed, conserving himself. She looked back at the display. "We did not call you," she said. "No," I said. "Your array called the charter. The charter called me." I helped Varath reset the perimeter emitters to a broader standing frequency, the kind that would discourage a return circuit without requiring manual operation. I left Kaylin my imaging relay's calibration file so her array could be updated to flag Gravitic-Null mobile returns as a priority alert rather than a general anomaly. It was in the standing orders too, if anyone had known to look. Before I left, Kaylin handed me her incident report for transmission. She had written it herself while I was resetting the emitters, the handwriting of someone who had been an officer and still filed reports the way officers do, with the personal details stripped out and the operational facts given their exact weight. She had noted the charter band. She had noted the 88-year provision. She had noted that her own staff had not known the band was active. She had not noted that this was something she intended to change. I filed my own report on the return transit. Section 14 closure, anomaly flag investigated, 1 injured personnel, threat displaced, installation secured. I included a recommendation that Band Orvith Survey 3 be retained on the Pale Margins Active Monitoring Suite, and that the Joint Survey Charter Section 11 provision be flagged for review by the Kethavar Bureau's Infrastructure Office, in case they wanted to know what their own array had been doing for 88 years. I did not expect them to decommission it. I have been running the Orvith-Null upland corridor for 6 years now. The band is still on my suite. I check it every morning, not because standing orders require it, but because the morning I did not check it I would spend the rest of the run thinking about what an 88-year-old charter can see that everything else missed.